a lot of the negative outcomes you hear about in the veteran space, from suicide and substance abuse and, underemployment and homelessness and all these things, there's a health problem that went wrong in there somewhere almost every time, a mental health problem or a physical health problem. So if we can keep that from happening, we can keep the negative outcome from happening.
What's up, Warriors? Welcome to the Battle Harder podcast. And today we're going to sit down with JJ from a nonprofit that is near and dear to my heart. I have a lot of respect for this, and I'm very excited to have this conversation. JJ, for people who may not know you yet, you're the deputy director at Team Red, White, and Blue, West Point graduate, combat veteran, and one of the earliest employees who helped grow this organization. But titles aside, what I think is very important is the fact that you're a husband, a father of 3, and someone who understands that leadership doesn't stop when the uniform comes off. So let's just kind of start at the beginning. When I have the veterans on the show, I always like to talk about what branch they went into and kind of what was their why for going into the service.
Yeah, so I was an Army veteran, and I think that really happened because my dad was an Army veteran in the Vietnam era, and my Uncle George, who was a really huge influence on me when I was a kid, is a Vietnam, like, multiple combat tours veteran.
Oh, wow.
And he was always around me a lot when I was a kid, and I always really looked up to him, and obviously looked up to my dad. And I think that I always knew that I wanted to be in the military from when I was a little kid, and I never really even considered another branch. It was just kind of the Army, and I think that's why.
And as far as, like, what did you do in the Army, and how much time did you end up spending in the military?
Yeah, that's a good question. So on paper, I was a field artillery officer, but I feel a little weird saying that because I never did any field artillery, really. I was commissioned in 2001, and a couple months later, when I was at, with the officer basic course, 9/11 happened. And I had been in the Army like 5 minutes when 9/11 happened in the real Army. And so I just kind of went into the wars, really. And so we didn't shoot any artillery. I was in infantry units a lot as a fire supporter. And then we kind of just retask organized as like a maneuver unit. So I guess I was a field artillery officer, but I didn't really, I don't feel like one, I guess is what I said.
So, like, as you did your time in the military, when you decided to get out, like, where did you go after that? I know for me and a lot of vets, as soon as we get out, we lose that identity overnight, and that camaraderie and sort of everything that we're used to doing, because now we're essentially like free. We're not told what to do anymore. Where did you go from there, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was kind of serendipitous. I had a pretty smooth transition, and I think it was because of my timeline more than anything else. So I transitioned off active duty into the National Guard. I was in the Texas National Guard, and I was just basically, burned out from the op temple, honestly. And I had some inactive ready reserve time on the end of my contract, 3 years. And my friends were getting like pulled out of the inactive ready reserve and getting redeployed. And I had just gotten married. I just had my first kid, and I knew I didn't want that. And so I was able to jump into the Texas National Guard. They were really short people at the time, and spend some years there in a more stable environment, right? It's a hassle, but it's going to be a hassle, if that makes sense, as opposed to always just like waiting for the letter in the mail. So I stayed in Texas. I'm a farm kid. I grew up on a farm. And so I was able to go to work for Caterpillar, which was a really smooth transition for me. But I think the thing that really helped me was still being in the National Guard. I've always been like a fitness guy. I've always like lead by example, and that caused me, I went straight into a command in the National Guard, and I had this part of me that forced myself to stay in way better shape than I think I would have otherwise, because I knew that I had drill coming up. There's always like a drill around the corner, and I always wanted to be in really good shape for that. So I didn't have that like get out of the military, like let yourself really go, because I had the National Guard for years, kind of keeping me in shape because I was a leader and I wanted to kind of lead by example. And I think that I don't think I would have done that otherwise. I mean, I don't think I would have just completely fallen off, but like I certainly would not have put the effort into staying in good shape because it's hard. You don't have PT scheduled in your day anymore.
Right.
That time has to come out of something. It's coming away from something else. So yeah, I think looking back at it, and then I think the environment at Caterpillar, I worked in the service side. A lot of veterans work there. You wear uniforms. It's very locker roomy. Like it felt pretty similar in a lot of ways. So I was able to make a pretty smooth transition there, I think. And it wasn't, I wish I could say it was this great intentional thing that I did, but it just kind of happened that way.
No, I mean, that's awesome. And it sounds like, I talk a lot of how support is huge. And it sounds like luckily between the National Guard and your mentality, you had the support there to continue on. Unfortunately for me, and guys, I've probably told this before. When I got out of the military, I got severely depressed. I did 10 years. I got out due to injury, thought I was going to do my 20, and I blew up to almost 300 pounds. I was one of those guys that essentially let myself go. And it took a lot of work and strength and discipline to get back to where I am today. But as this segues into, what you guys do with Team Red, White, and Blue and everything that goes on with your nonprofit, why do you think that most of us, when we get out, why do we just let ourselves go? Why are we so stuck on being locked in and being told what to do? And we can maintain that effortlessly, but as soon as we get out, everything just kind of goes sideways.
Yeah. I've thought about this a lot, but I do want to acknowledge really fast to go back. The other thing that I had going for me was my employer. My employer was really supportive, and specifically my boss and my boss's boss were both retired Air Force chiefs, or like E9s. I don't forget what they call them, master chiefs or whatever.
Right. And
they were fantastic mentors to me as I was getting out, both moving into the professional world and just like navigating transition. So they were, Tony Noe, Ron Kraft, like if you're listening, I wanted to call them out because they were great mentors to me. Okay, a couple things. People talk a lot about when you leave the military service, there's a lot of positive traits that I think you learn and you take with you, right? Like
definitely
mission orientation and grit and resilience and like a lot of things like that. But there's bad habits that you pick up that you take with you as well that people don't talk about, right? Binge drinking, eating terrible food, caffeine, not sleeping, stuff like that. Tobacco, binge drinking, and I think those are some bad habits that people carry with them out of the military as well. That's one reason. Two, the Army makes working out, I can only speak about the Army, they make it really unfun. Like it's not a lot of, you go to PT, what do? You go out and like roll around in the wet grass in some wet field, and like, it's not very much fun. I think that's part of it. So people have this like negative, they think that exercise and working out has to be this like miserable thing you just got to do. So I think a lot of people, as soon as they have the opportunity to like not do it, they're like done, but you still keep eating the same way and like all of those things. And, you do have a job now that's not active. You're sitting on your butt all the time. And the next thing your pants don't fit, like, those types of things. And I think that's why I think the military, the culture around exercise, like it's not fun. I think this is changing when you're thinking about more wellness, but at least when I was in, it was super competitive and everything was like, how painful can we make it? And I think as soon as people are, they're just like done with this.
Yeah, those are great reasons. I never really thought about putting two and two together with the bad habits that we as service members carry on and just continue.
Oh yeah, I think about this a lot. Like you take all the habits with you. Some are great, some are bad, right? And that all kind of comes out with you.
So you talk about how you've had a lifelong resistance to complacency. Like, how did you get to that kind of mindset? Because I mean, anymore, especially in today's society, I think a huge majority of us were very complacent and we're very much creatures of habit. And it's very hard for people that aren't in this space or aren't used to having that discipline to get out of that comfort zone and do the hard things that are needed to be successful. What gave you that resistance to the complacency?
Around kind of exercise in my physical fitness, or just in more
Just in
broadly?
general, just in your life in general.
Yeah, I think it's been like I've always, from starting from playing sports when I was a kid, like I've always been a competitive person. And like I don't like to lose at things, and I like to win and be the best at things, right? And so everything I've done, I've always had peers, and I've always wanted to, like, outperform them, honestly. And so I think that has honestly been a lot of it, because in whatever jobs I've been in, it's always been some kind of a competitive environment. Um, I think I don't like to feel unprepared, and I like to perform, and I think that's honestly what it is. It's just like this kind of natural competitiveness that's inside of me that has caused me to, like, you know, and I don't like to sit still, as the other thing. I'm always doing something. So I think that's probably part of it. And I think that's honestly a lesson that you learn in the military, at least I learned, is that, like, first and foremost, like, it's still competitive there, but you're a team kind of first and foremost, right? So it's like, how can I lift the team up, right? But still distinguish myself. But the team is what matters the most, right? And I think it took me a while to kind of figure that out as, like, you know, a young officer in the Army, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I wish in society that we were, because probably you too and me growing up, we didn't get participation trophies. If you won, you won, and if you lost, you lost, and that built that grit, that built that discipline. If you knew you stunk at a sport, that you had to work harder and practice to be better, and that I think relates strongly into society as we become adults. Like you said, competition at work. The last episode I just did a few minutes ago, we were talking about the barrier of entry to be a tough, strong man. It's very low right now. It's not very hard to be a dominating force over most people just by having a little bit of discipline, a little bit of authenticity, and being able to be vulnerable when necessary, and you can dominate just about anything. It's very weird to me to be in this world and this community of how things are going.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this before. I'm a wrestling coach. I've been around grappling in some form or fashion, a good chunk of my life. And even, in the jujitsu gym, it's like, if someone has trained at all a year of their life or 6 months grappling, it's it's even if you're relatively inexperienced, kind of being able to deal with someone who has no experience, even if they're bigger and stronger, it's relatively easy, honestly. And the bar is pretty low compared to someone who has never done it before. It's not, and it's just because it's a technical thing, and you just, you get that experience. And I kind of feel the same way about. I do feel like it's changing a little bit, though. I really do. I feel like we've crescendoed and it's swinging back the other way. But the things that we valued, the traits that we valued in our society for a while, were not, aspirational traits where it's like being tougher is better, and winning is good, and some of those things that are, traditionally important. And I do feel like it's kind of swinging back in that direction a little bit, where it's like, hey, it's okay to win, and it's okay to be successful, and we're not going to apologize for working hard and outperforming our peers. Um, yeah, it's an interesting time, though. I mean, I will say that where playing sports and stuff as a kid, there certainly got this into me. But a lot of people play sports, but there is, I'd say, like, I went to West Point, and that's like the most competitive place I've ever been.
Right.
Everything you do is graded, and everything ties into your class rank, and your class rank means everything, and it's public. Anyone can see exactly where you stand. Like, when you take a test, the grades are public. Like, everyone can see everything, and like where you sit. I mean, I don't know. One of the things that you do when you're a senior is you earn your branch, and then you earn your post. And the way that they have a thing called post night. So I was a field artillery officer. There's like 100 of us. They put you in a big room, and they say the number one person, you sit down here in the front, the lowest ranking person,
wow.
you sit in the back, right, in order. And then they have a screen up and they've got all the post assignments, and they say, person number one, stand up, where do you want to go? That person stands up and says, I want to go to Hawaii, and they cross off a Hawaii slot. Number two, and he goes, and the people who are at the back of the line,
They're going to get what they get.
They get the shit posts.
Yep.
And it's like you have to stand up in front of everybody and own 4 years of work, and it results in where you go. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's like super competitive in that way. And some people like competition and some people just wilt under the pressure, you know? And I just think I didn't like it initially, but I kind of learned to deal with it. And I just think that place, that's like a place that like you just get used to it, right? It's like what you put out is what you get in, or what you put in is what you get out of it, you know? It's
definitely
directly proportional to your effort.
So for someone in my audience or whoever listens to this that doesn't know what Team Red, White, and Blue is, let's get into that. Essentially, what is it? And guide us through kind of what your guys' mission statement is, and then we'll talk about how you're helping veterans win.
What we are is, I mean, we're a 501c3, so we're a veteran nonprofit, but we're the nation's foremost health and wellness community for veterans. That's what Team RWB is. And what we do is really simple. We help veterans, you know, kind of live their best lives through having good physical and mental health. And we think that your health is just foundational to you as a person. And like if your health is not good, you're not going to be good at anything else in your life, right? You might be good, but you're not going to be a good employee. You're not going to be a good father, or you're not going to be a good, you know, teammate. Like you can't be great at any of those things if your health isn't good. And so you have got to get your own personal physical and mental health right. And it's not only, you know, in the veteran community, it's often we're not talking about kind of optimizing things. We're talking about avoiding negative outcomes, right? And so a lot of the negative outcomes you hear about in the veteran space, from suicide and substance abuse and, you know, underemployment and homelessness and all these things, there's a health problem that went wrong in there somewhere almost every time, a mental health problem or a physical health problem. So if we can keep that from happening, we can keep the negative outcome from happening. And that's what we do. And what we do is so simple. We get veterans together and we get them to exercise and build relationships. Super simple, but I think the beauty is in the simplicity. So that's kind of what we do. I mean, talk about how in a second, but that's what we do as an organization.
Yeah. And, you know, everything I do is based on fitness, mindset, discipline, and my teachings. And when I talk about fitness, I mean, like you said, overall, your health, your nutrition, your emotional, spiritual health, your well-being. And I think that's extremely important to be able to continue on into having a positive mindset and then having the discipline to continue what's doing right. And honestly, because of Team Red, White, and Blue, that's why I'm in this space. This is why I do what I do. Once I linked up with you guys and I started learning what you guys actually do, I wanted to follow suit and I wanted to help more than just my veteran community. I'm really on a mission to try to fight men's mental health issues, suicide and emotional deregulation and first responders and all that good stuff. And I mean, you guys are phenomenal in the, like, just to have, so veterans, if you don't know this and you want a place to belong, like I'm telling you, like check out Team Red, White, and Blue. Like I can go do a Spartan race for free. Like you guys give me free Spartan races, you know, and to some people, you know, maybe $40-$50 isn't that much, but to be able to do that for free and then meet people that want to do that for free.
Yeah, that's the important thing. It's the people you meet there, right? It's the community that you meet. Training for the Spartan race and doing the Spartan race is awesome, but like hopefully what you're doing is meeting people that are going to keep you active and you're going to have a supportive community around you. And I agree with you, man. Like I've worked in the veteran space my, you know, last decade plus, and I feel like we've done some really important stuff, but I've been a middle school wrestling coach for a long time. And I feel like the work that I do there is maybe more meaningful, right? Because like you're touching deep Oh, gotta be careful. Talk about touching middle school.
You're leading young men.
You're leading young men and women. There's a lot of female wrestlers now,
Oh,
but
wow.
you're leading young people at a point where they're really like, you can have a lot of effect on them still in when they're in middle school. And yeah, and I think that's really important work too. I mean, close to home, community-based work. So I'm there with you.
So what led you to, like, how did you actually get into Team Red, White, and Blue, and what led you to getting to where you're out at now, and what kind of initiatives are you trying to currently roll out?
Yeah, I think to keep going back to the timeline, I think that like affected me and all of my friends and peers at the same time. Because, I graduate 2001, I start training fall 2001. You finish, you're done. It's 9/11 happens. We're mid 2002. We're kind of done with our initial officer training. You go to where you're going to go, and then the wars start in March of 2003, and like that's kind of all we knew. And so I'm like 23 years old, and you're having these really intense leadership experiences. Not just me, like all of my peers are like this, right? You're having these like intense leadership experiences at a young age, and that certainly affected it. And I think one of the things for me, I started, once I left the military a few years later, I left active duty, I started seeing some of my friends really struggle with the transition. And these were people that had everything going for them, like supportive families. They had good jobs. They didn't have financial stress. They like had all the things, and they're struggling. And I just remember thinking like, man, if these people are struggling, I just think of some of my soldiers. I'm like, who have financial stress, and they have marital stress, and they have they don't have supportive families at home, and I'm like, what in the hell is happening to those soldiers like now? And that's what made me really think about this. And that's the long preamble. I think how Team RWB started was, we've had veterans organizations around in America for a long time. And for whatever reason, our generation, Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, for whatever reason, those didn't resonate as much. And so we starting our own. And so a friend of mine, a guy named Mike Irwin, started Team RWB. And Mike and I were like second lieutenants in the same battalion together a long time ago. So like I've known Mike a long time. And when you start pulling your friends in, you start the people you know. So he asked, I was in a group of people that did the first ever Team RWB event in 2010. We ran the Twin Cities Marathon. It was the first ever Team RWB event. And then a good mutual friend of ours was the first executive director of Team RWB, and he asked me to come work there. And at the time, I was working in the private sector. I was doing medical sales, and like not really realized that I need mission-oriented work that I could feel good about, and that is not it. And so I had the opportunity to come to Team RWB, and I never really wanted to do like veteran-related work. I honestly was like wanted a little break from the military. And I didn't really want to do nonprofit work either, but it just, here I am. So I just found that it was a really good fit for me personally. And yeah, that's how I came into it. I wasn't looking. I was asked by a friend of mine, and I just came and really enjoyed it and stayed.
How long have you been with Team RWB now?
It'll be 14 years in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's
so
awesome.
January 1st of 2012 was my first day as an employee, but I was a volunteer before that. I started the Louisville, Kentucky chapter, which is kind of where I live. So I was a volunteer prior to that. So, farther back, beyond that, if you look at it that way.
Speaking of chapters, approximately how many chapters do you guys have? And is this US base only?
Good question. I think we're up 200-ish chapters.
Wow.
Every major city, we have a chapter in it, and we do have some like Oconus locations. They're mainly around American military installations, mainly, in other countries. But no, yeah, we have locations around the world, but mainly in the United States. Every major city has a Team RWB chapter at this point.
And what kind of veteran or service member would be the ideal fit, I guess, to come into Team Red, White, and Blue? Like I know you guys obviously do the health initiatives. what initiatives or other things do you do that maybe the public may not know in your response to helping veterans?
One of the things I think that has allowed us to be successful is we've been really laser focused on our mission, and we've not kind of allowed mission creep to set in. So we're health and wellness focused. We don't do things that are not health and wellness. We have great partners we can pass them off to. But in terms of like what kind of veteran, any kind of veteran who wants to be there, that's the kind of veteran that should come. And it doesn't even have to be veterans. I mean, about a third of our membership is non-veterans. They're civilians. And that's one of the things that's unique about Team RWB is that we love supportive members of the community to be part of it as well. We are, the beauty in what we do is not the exercise modality, right? Like if you're looking to try to like bench 300 pounds or squat 500 pounds and you need someone who's an expert in deadlifting or something, like that's not really what we do. We get veterans together to exercise and to do things that are healthy, get out of the house, hiking, skiing, all kinds of things like that. And it's a great way for you to meet people and exercise, and form supportive relationships. So anyone, I think there's this misconception that we're just like this running club full of really fit people and people scared to come out. That's not it at all. That's not it at all. We do many things other than running. Our chapters do, but in most locations, any Team RWB event is going to be super accessible. So, because we have people who come to us with disabilities that we have to work around, and then we have people who come to us that are really fit, and everything in the middle.
Yeah, I forget which holiday. I did an event with one of the ambassadors when I was an ambassador for Team Red, White, and Blue, and we were raising money for you guys. It might have been a Memorial Day event.
Yeah.
But for you guys that don't know, Team Red, White, and Blue, they go crazy on the stuff they do. Like, we talked in the interview about the Fitbit initiative that you did. I was a part of that. Like I said, the free Spartan races. I had an opportunity to go to base camp at Mount Everest. Like, this is all stuff through Team Red, White, and Blue that typically they foot the bill for. Like, they give this freely because they truly want to see veterans win from that perspective of being healthy again and being happy again and building that camaraderie through community. And with that being said, so guys, if you go back to I don't even know what episode, but I did a couple episodes where I did an event called the Taji 100. Now, the Taji 100 was another nonprofit event from another veteran organization where you had to do 100 miles within the month. This could be done by walking, biking, swimming, everything essentially as far as movement. Now, keep in mind, I messed up when I first did this. I started doing biking and realizing the miles weren't as equal to the miles as the running. So I had to do double time to get my work in. But all the races and everything I've ever done, the challenge of getting 100 miles done in a month was so special to me. The two times that I did that. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Team Red, White, and Blue is now taking that over, and we're going to talk about that. So, JJ, if you'd like to break that down for us a little bit of what's going on with that and when it will start and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And this one is special to me personally. So yeah, the Taji 100 was an awesome event. It's an organization, Taji is a city in Iraq. We had a FOB there called Camp Cook in El Taji, Iraq, and I actually spent about 6 months there. And it's north of Baghdad, kind of northeast of Baghdad a little bit. And so there were some people who were stationed there, and they decided that they were going to challenge themselves. And you could kind of run around inside the wire of the FOB there, and they decided they were going to try to run 100 miles, to burn off some steam and be healthy. And so they did it. There was a group of people that did it. It was a great experience, and then brought that back to the United States. And that event happened 15 times, over the course of 15 years, and more people did it. and they would raise money for veterans organizations. And about 6 or 7 years ago, we got hooked up with the Taiji 100 organization at Team RWB, and our members loved it. And, they would donate some of the money they raised to us. And it was just a really good relationship. And after 15 years, they just essentially said, hey, it's been a good run. We're ready to kind of, sunset this thing in its current form. But we'd like to see it keep going. Would you be interested in kind of taking this thing over? And we said yes, obviously, because we love the event as well. So we kind of worked through all the details on that. And one of the things that we decided was it was time to kind of retire the old kind of name of Taiji 100. But the format was great, and that we were going to kind of take it over and make it our own with Team RWB. So we have an event called the GWOT 100, which is in a lot of ways it's similar. It's a 100-mile challenge in the month of February, but it's completely different in terms of what we're doing with it, which I think is what's really cool about it. And what's unique about it is that it's an event that's really based on storytelling. So we are picking geographic regions from the global war on terror, and we are deep diving, telling stories about those particular regions. So the first 3 years, we're going to cover the country of Iraq and Operation Iraqi Freedom. And we're going to start in the center of Iraq in the Sunni Triangle region for 2026. And we're going to tell stories during the course of this thing about the people and the battles and the places and the locations, and not just what happened there, but what was kind of happening back home and the support, because we want this to be an inclusive event. And if you do the 100 miles, you get this cool medal that's like a puzzle piece that will go together with 2 other years. And you can, if you do 3 years of Iraq, you'll get this really cool kind of display-worthy, monument from this event. And we're trying to make everything intentional. So as you go through your 100-mile journey, say you get to once you do your first 8 miles, you get badges kind of in the system, and you'll earn at 8 miles, you'll earn the Route Irish badge, which is this 8-mile long road in Iraq that was super dangerous. And we have people we're trying to tell the story through the event. And I think it's just a really cool event and then we'll kind of move on to Southern Iraq in 2027, and then Northern Iraq, and we'll continue to work our way around the global war on terror, and we just want to tell the stories of what happened in a deep way that you don't see a lot. And we want to inspire people to get active, because doing 100 miles in a month is doable. I think if you can walk 3 miles, you can do this, right? Because you can walk 3 miles every day, and you're basically there. You have to do it every day, but it's hard, like it is very hard to do. You skip 2 days, all of a sudden you got a 10-mile day in your face, and so it's challenging as well. So I've talked far too long here, Rob, but it's just, I'm super excited about it. It's a really great event.
No, I think that's pretty amazing. I think when, there's races and events like this, there's not many people actually taking the time to give us some form of history or storytelling per se. So I hope the people that are going to participate in this really dive deep into that to, get some form of education of what's going on. And I just, from being a Spartan race runner and always wanting to try to go for the trifecta, I really like how you guys decided to put this together like in a puzzle to hopefully make people want to continue doing this. And from your point of what you said, like I remember I started out strong. I would do, 2 miles in the morning, 2 miles in the evening, and try to get that 4 miles in every day. There were some days where I slid and knocking out. I think this last Taji, it was down to the wire. My wife, we were having some friends over for dinner, and I didn't even end up eating dinner because nope, I gotta go get these last miles in to earn this medal. Because for you guys that don't know, with the Taji, you could pre-buy the medal and stuff, but I wouldn't open it. I'd be like, guess what? If I don't make this 100 miles, I'm just throwing this away, and it's not a waste of money because you get the donation, but I'm gonna earn this medal. I'm not opening it until I get these 100 miles in, and it does take a little bit of willpower, and it does take a little bit of dedication because you could just have a bad day. Your car could break down, your kids could be sick, or wife could be upset, and you have to make that decision. Are you going to still tough it out and get those 100 miles in? So I think it's an important challenge for people that maybe want to start challenging themselves to see what they're made of or what they can accomplish. And I think a lot of people will be surprised if they get into this challenge. Now with the event, I'm assuming that it's free, and then you can donate money, you can raise money, and then anything that we buy merchandise related goes straight back to Team Red, White, and Blue.
Yeah, so the event is free. It's 100% free, the same experience. And everything we do is free because we want anyone to be able to do it. But there's a large number of active duty and National Guard people that do this event. And there's these things called the Joint Ethics Regulations. And so like we want military units to do this together, and it needs to be free for that to happen, right? If you have to pay to do it, then units can't kind of push it internally. So that's another reason that we make it free. But there are gear packages you can buy up into if you want to. So you can get, a package with a medal and a shirt and a bib and a decal and that kind of stuff, but you don't have to. And there's additional gear you can buy. But yeah, all of it, every single penny that we make on this goes into our programs for veterans. That's the reason. That's the reason that we do it. Well, that's not the reason we do it, but that's one of the reasons we do it. Is to help fund the other things that we do as an organization. But we want people to get healthy for this as well. But yeah, 100% free.
Is there anything on your site for people that actually want to volunteer with Team Red, White, and Blue? Is there a place where someone could sign up, whether they're a veteran, a milspouse, veteran supporter?
Yeah, well, those people can all join. So I would say the first thing that anyone should do is they should go to the App Store for iTunes or Google Play Store. They should download our app and they should join Team RWB. And you just do that by setting up a profile on our app. And if you get into the app is the gateway to Team RWB. You can see all the events that are going on. We have in-person events. We have virtual, like tens of thousands per year. Virtual events. There's it's almost become a social media channel where a social media in that like there's all these various groups you can get in and interact in, and there's no algorithms, there's no ads, there's no negativity. Like it's a veteran fitness community in there. So the first thing I would say is download the app, join Team RWB. It's free, no membership, no nothing. Get in there, find some events and get involved. That would be the first thing I would encourage people to do. If you do that and you want to do more, you can, there's a place on our website that you can volunteer to be an Eagle leader. So it's a basic form you fill out and someone will reach out to you and, we'll figure out kind of what you want to do and where you want to do it. That's kind of the next level. I would say a great thing to do would be to sign up and do the GWOT 100. It's in February. So if someone wants to get their health back in order, if you're kind of listening to this and you're looking for maybe something that's a good thing to kind of kickstart your health journey, you maybe want to get off the couch or something like that. This is a great way to do it. It's in February. You can come out in the month of January. You can start to get yourself in shape a little bit and walk and cycle or jog or whatever you want to do. It's a great way to kind of start your year off with some activity. And I think one of the things that's cool about this, and you kind of hit it, Rob, is that you don't just have to run it. You can walk, you can ruck if you want, you can swim. There's conversions for cycling and swimming. We even have conversions for like Concept 2 rowers, skiers, stair climbers, anything that you're moving, a movement-based thing you can do to accumulate your 100 miles.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and guys, I'll be obviously doing this challenge, and there'll be, I'll post about it on social media. And when I'm done, I'll probably talk about, I like to do reflections on these challenges and give you guys takeaways of what I learned or what I could have done better. But I love that. Like, you want a low barrier to entry where you can get your ass back in shape. Like, this is a good challenge and a good segue to start. And if you've never done any kind of obstacle course race or 5Ks or anything really that's considered, I guess, an event, this would be a good low barrier entry to start. What is the official dates again of when this will kick off?
It's the month of February. So February 1st to February 28th. And Rob, like you said something that made me think. So if you're a person who is in decent shape and you decide you want to do something hard, you could sign up for a 5K or a 10K or a 10 miler or even a half marathon. Then and most people, you could go, especially people who are in the military, you can go grit it out for 3 hours and do this thing. Now you might crush yourself, right? But most people can go like grit through something hard for a few hours, right? Even if you're not in shape to do it. What I like about this so much is that's not what this is. This is you putting in work every day. And there's a different type of discipline that's required to do something consistently every day versus like a short, what's the Bruce Lee quote? It's like consistency trumps intensity every time.
Yeah.
Something I'm butchering it, something like that. And that's what I like about this is it requires you to change your habits over the course of a month, right? And I think the book is Atomic Habits, where I think it's James Clear that talks about how you can, in like 3 weeks, you can develop a habit, either good or bad, right? And this is a great opportunity to develop a good habit over the course of a month, which is moving every day.
Yeah, I love that. And I know Team Red, White, and Blue is really great on community. How does that help with the shared struggle of the mental health and the things we go through, injuries as veterans, and the struggle to want to belong to something bigger than ourselves?
Yeah, I think the military is a team. It's a team, right? It's a team-based organization. I mean, and so you learn how to be on a team. You learn how to be part of a team. You learn that we're better, like we're all better when we're teammates. And I should have talked about this earlier. Inside the app that I was just talking about, we have a GWOT 100 group. And what's special about this is so many people will be in there talking about their experiences throughout the course of the month, right? So you're not just out there alone and unafraid, doing, if you live up north like me, doing miles in the snow, right? You're having a chance to share your experiences, talk about when you have a bad day, talk about when you have a good day, get encouragement from other people, even ask technical questions like, hey, I'm having a problem with my shoes, like my hydration, like the way I'm feeling, there's all kinds of really rich conversation that happens in there. So there's like this, you're not just signing up to do an event on your own. You have a community of people that are there if you want. And I think that's what's so important. So what's so great about things like Spartan races, right? Like, if you do a Spartan race and you're struggling on an event, like some person you don't know will help you.
Yep.
And that's what I think is so great, or several people. That's what I think is so great about it.
And I'm assuming kind of like the Taji, if you want to form a team, you can actually form a team as well.
Oh yeah. That's a big part of it. A lot of people will form teams with their friends, or something that we're seeing really interesting this year is military units are forming teams to compete against each other. So nice. You can go in there and you can see, like you'll see a battalion has a team for each company, and they're trying to see who can run the most miles, or platoons, or or people with their friends, or I'm seeing gyms, and it's really cool. You can get in there with teams, and at the end of the day, this is an honor system event, right? You are this, Rob, like you're logging your own miles.
Yep.
Most people use some kind of a wearable device to track it, but it's an honor based. You have to hold yourself accountable to do it every day and to put down the accurate, readings of what you're doing. But doing it with your friends, where you can motivate and push and prod and rib and encourage, and all those things that you do with your friends and family, I think and it's really fun. I'm going to do it with my oldest son this year. And I think it's that kind of stuff is something really fun to do with your family and friends as well.
Yeah. I mean, from my past experience with the challenge, I have a buddy of mine that used to train with me, and we had a team, and me and him would be constantly like number one, number two, and we would just poke and prod each other, be like, yep, I got that 5 miles in. What are you doing? And it was that healthy competition that helped us get through it. And if you're a person of, integrity and honor, and there's something beautiful in, getting that 1 mile or 3 mile or whatever bike ride done, whether you wear that wearable or how you measure it, and then actually like doing the honor system and logging it in, and seeing that progress and getting those badges that say, hey, you were 3 days consistent or whatever. That's a very motivating, beautiful thing. And that gives you that power to realize that you're actually accomplishing something. So I want to, put a point to my audience and the people that watch this, like, even beyond, like, if you're not a military person or a veteran person, or you don't understand the history, or you really don't care, but you like challenges, give this a shot. Like, do it, try it. You don't, it's free. Like, now, obviously, I would love for anybody and everybody to give some money to Team Red, White, and Blue, or at least buy the medal or a shirt or something to help. But it's free. There's really no barrier to entry except for yourself and your will to be determined to get this done. So I hope you guys have like just a crazy amount of signups for this event.
It's been going really well so far, and I think it's going to continue to, typically after the holidays, people are, feeling like they're not in the greatest shape, and they want to, it's a good time to exercise. So I think that's, yeah. And I will say a little thing that I've learned doing this over the years is, many of us have jobs where we have to talk on the phone a lot, or, we have to take meetings or whatever. And I will switch as many of my meetings as I can to phone call meetings. And I will just put my headphones in during the month of February, and I will just go walk while I'm taking meetings. And people just know, be like, hey, I'm just going to be out walking. And it is nothing for me to walk 4 or 5 miles just while I'm talking on the phone, just doing my regular job, listening to meetings or doing meetings or whatever. There's a neighborhood across the road from my house. I'll just go walk laps in it. And it's crazy the amount of steps that you'll put in with, it doesn't take any extra time during your day.
Yeah.
And so I always try to do that every year. And it's really cool to see how those can add up.
Oh, there was a couple times where, because the wife and I were big Disney adults, right? I live in Florida. I'm not too far from Orlando. And when you're in Disney, you're walking like 6 to 10 miles. And I'm like, well, it's the Taji 100. I did my 6 miles. I'm logging this. This counts. And
100%.
And, just to actually get something out of the foot traffic in Disney and walking around, like, I was trying to get that extra, well, let's walk, a couple more minutes. Let's walk a couple more miles and just get that little extra in to be able to do that challenge. I think challenging yourself is very important in life, no matter what age you are. I think you should always do the hard things. With that being said, what is some of non-negotiables in your life that you make sure that you take care of, or you do to keep you in check and keep your mental health in line? And what kind of things have been given to you, or have you learned, or how has your growth been since you started working at Team Red, White, and Blue, besides the fact that I think it's probably amazing return on investment as far as helping people and getting that good feeling of I'm doing good in the world and I'm trying to change lives. But what's some of those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. So even before Team RWB, I worked from home primarily. I have not gone into an office in a long time, and that is great. It is great. But if you don't, I tell people this all the time, working from home is not this like panacea that people think it is. It can be lonely. It can be, non-stimulating. Like, you have to put systems in place to be around people. You can, especially if you have like workaholic tendencies like I do, you can like get up, start, like, next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock and you still have your pajama pants on because you've been like,
Just
working.
nonstop. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not good. That's not good for anybody. So I have learned that with me personally, I have to engineer social activity into my life. Like, I've got to make sure that I'm around people. I got to force that. And then I can kind of choose the people that I'm around. And then, you have to schedule exercise in, because if you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. There's a zero. I've got 3 kids. There's a 0% chance that exercise is, if it doesn't happen before the end of the workday, it ain't happening, because that's like the only time of the day that I get with my kids. Like, I'm gonna spend time with them.
Right.
So that's one thing. This, for me personally, the most important part of my day is, I've always been an early riser. I'm still an early riser. I get up an hour or two before everybody else does. And that is the only kind of quiet moment of my day. And I've always been a big reader. And that is when I read. That is when I study. That's when I learn about the things that I'm interested in. that's some time for myself that I can sit down and read. I for a long time have, I read the Daily Stoic every day, which is just a quick kind of parable of Stoicism. It's just a quick 1-page thing. I've been through the book like 4 times at this point. I just have it on the nightstand. And yeah, that's a really important day for me. It kind of just allows me to get my head right and get ready for the day and think about what I'm going to do and just, be more organized. I do not operate well doing things last second. I don't like it. I can't stand it. I don't like getting up and feeling rushed and having to run out the door and feeling unprepared. So that getting up early and having that time to myself is really important to my day.
Yeah. And guys, JJ's dropping some pearls of wisdom here. And, from everything that I speak on in the personal development mindset space, and this isn't just like a veteran thing with used to getting up early. If you, as a man, especially as a man, if you can get up an hour, hell, even 30 minutes before everybody else, and have that non-negotiable of whether you sit in silence, you pray, you read a book, you journal, you do breath work, and then, if you can, go work out or make sure you're scheduling your workout in. I can't tell you the difference night and day between days that I'm able to get all that stuff done. I can lock in and get so much work and so much responsibilities and be there, be more present for my kids and my wife, because you have to have that personal time. You have to have time away from everybody else where you can just let your brain run. Like for me, it's the gym. If I don't get to the gym like before 10 o'clock at the latest, I know I'm not going, because by that time I have meetings, I have, podcasts to record, productions that I have to do, responsibilities. But as long as I try to have that discipline and get to the gym early in the morning, my brain wanders. I'm thinking about working out. I'm not thinking about cell phones or emails or whatever. If it's not a family emergency, it doesn't get attended to. And my wife and the people in my life know that my cell phone is not being checked, looked at, no social media, emails, nothing until that workout's done and I'm back in the house, because that personal time that you set yourself up for, that success right there, that's going to carry you on so much more than, I love my wife to death, but it drives me crazy. We go to bed, my cell phone's up, and it's not getting touched until who knows, 10, 11, 12 o'clock. And the last few minutes before we're trying to sleep, she's on the cell phone and I see that glow in her face and I'm just like, oh my God, like just put the phone away. Like the addiction to the devices, to the TVs, the cell phones, you gotta limit that stuff. You gotta have a cutoff time and you have to stick to your guns and discipline. And, obviously, you're a veteran, you're a high performer, but how important is discipline in your life as a father, as a husband, and when it comes to, what you want to do and how you want to grow in your life?
Yeah. It's like, I went to the Army and Navy game last weekend and I actually saw Jocko Willink there, who's a Navy
Yeah.
guy. And, he discipline equals freedom. That's kind of his thing. Right. And, it's interesting. My oldest son is a high school wrestler and he's cutting a little bit of weight right now. And that is, it's not the easy, we're committed to making sure that he's doing it safely, but like, it is an exercise. I'm kind of watching him go through this, and it's an exercise in discipline. more than
Definitely.
anything else. It is, you know, you're not only watching what you eat, you're watching how much you eat, and you're watching when you eat it, and you're having to learn how to track all these things, because ultimately the team is counting on you to do the thing that you say you're going to do, which is show up ready to wrestle at a certain weight so that the team doesn't have to take forfeits.
Right.
And I think that discipline is, I mean, when you look at most of the people that I know that are really successful, they are not. I know many, many smart people who did not amount to anything because they weren't disciplined and they were lazy. And all the successful people I know are people that are hard workers and disciplined, right? Those seem to be the traits that are common to the people I know that are really successful. And it just allows you to kind of do everything else, all the things that you want to do in your life. So I'll give you a little. So for me, I'm a lunchtime exercise guy. I have learned that it's a good time for me because just the way my schedule works with my kids, they're like on different bus schedules. And so like my
Right.
morning kind of crazy. But if I am so much more productive the second half of the day when I exercise at lunch. I've just learned this about myself. So lock it in. If you look at my calendar, I have lunch blocked off every day. Everyone I work with knows that it's blocked off. And for me, I get it knocked out at lunch. It makes me more productive the second half of the day. It modulates what I'm not going to eat I'm not going to eat a plate of enchiladas for lunch, because I know that I don't want to feel bad. And it just makes, just kind of restarts me for the second half of the day. And I'm just like way more productive the second half of the day. So that's just what works for me personally at this point in my life. But yeah, I mean, just, it's not rocket science, like it's just kind of doing the thing that you got to do. And the phones are hard, man. Like, it, you know, it, it's, even me, sometimes I'll know, like, it's not good to look at Instagram or whatever. And sometimes for me, it's easiest just to like take it off my phone rather than like kind of, I just know that that's going to be a more effective way for me to manage it than just any other way.
No, I love that. And I think or feel like if, sometimes it's hard to have willpower, and there's things in my life, uh, foods that I love and stuff, and I just can't seem to have the willpower sometimes to quit them. And sometimes, like, if you have a porn addiction or app addiction or any kind of addiction, sometimes it's better just to be able to, lock it out, put some password you're going to forget, and not force yourself to look at it. And for me, I consider myself a public figure, so to speak. So I have to be on social media. I had to put my phone in another room because every 5 minutes on computer, I'd be checking to see if I got that like, or someone made a comment, or so it's just putting systems in place that work for you, that is going to allow you to adhere to that lifestyle you want to live. And you mentioned Jocko, and I say all the time his saying, choose your hard. Do you want the hard of being stuck and weak and mentally drained, or do you want to be the hard of being strong and in shape and a force to be, intimidating, or whatever your goal is? And I'd rather have the heart of being the best version of myself than being the heart of being stuck in sadness and depression and anger and all those things that aren't going to help me grow, that I feel like society kind of wants to keep us in. But with that being said, and winding down the show, when you strip away, titles and roles and accomplishments, what's the one thing out of this entire conversation that you'd want veterans listening right now to take ownership of today?
There's this thing that I consider to be pretty toxic, and I don't use that word lightly, in the veteran community, that I've seen happen as I've been in it the last few years. And it's this kind of entitlement that is encroached into the veteran community. And it's been well intentioned. The American public has been incredibly supportive of the veteran community. But, as a different topic for a different day is kind of VA disability. But as people have gotten, there's this mentality that your success and your transition in your life outside of the military is directly proportional to the amount of benefits that you get or the amount of disability that you have or these other factors that are outside of your control. And I think it takes the onus away from the individual. And at the end of the day, like your health, for example, you cannot outsource that. There's not a single person that's going to control what you put in your mouth, how you move your body, how much you sleep, what you put in your mind. No one else can do that. You have to do this yourself, right? And so the thing that I think is really dangerous and that I see in the veteran space is that there's this reliance on other people or other systems, or like, whereas at the end of the day, there's like an ownership that needs to happen with that. The only way you're going to really own you have to own this stuff yourself. And so I just think that again, it's not everybody and it's not even most people, but it is some, and it exists there, right? Where it is, I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to this. I should get this. I get this thing. And like, your health is the most important thing in your life. It is the most foundational thing in your life. Like, you can't be a good family man. You can't be a good, you can't do any of those things if your health is not straight, your physical and your mental health,
Definitely.
emotional health. And like, nobody else can do that for you. You are the only one that can do that for yourself. And so I think that's the most important thing, is like just taking ownership of that and just like, like, I think that's really important. Like, no one else is going to control what you put in your mouth. No one else is going to get your butt up and get you moving. Like, you have to do it yourself. And I just see a lot of people who make a lot of excuses on why they can't do it. And at the end of the day, like, you just have to do it, like that's ultimately it. Like, you just have to do it.
And I agree with you 100%. Like, it took me, and you're right, we could have multiple episodes and conversations on veterans, VA disability, entitlement, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time. Like, I was the opposite. I was the guy that didn't want to claim anything. And, people are like, but dude, you got injured in the military. Like, that's your right. And I had to like relearn or flip the script on not what I deserved, but I guess what I could receive for, and I don't even want to say suffering, but like the mental health, the PTSD, the depression, the back injuries, the knee injuries, everything. But I always tell people, and so I'm kind of like on the other coin. If I have a bad day with my back or my knees, or I use a handicap spot, I'm 100% disabled, and I haven't had anybody, I don't know if it's because I'm just ugly or look mean, but I haven't had anybody question it yet. But I do use it when I need it, because sometimes I have bad days, and it took me a long time to get to that place of acceptance, because I was, like I said, the other guy, like, oh, I don't need this. And, I'm not handicapped, or I don't have mental health issues. And it was only through starting my claim where, and seeing counselors and taking meds, and people be like, well, maybe you have PTSD, or you may have depression. And these were things that I didn't know, because, my father's from a generation where we didn't talk about this stuff. So on that retrospect, it truly helped me be able to start to heal. But the point I was going to say is, as far as it relates to fitness, and like you said, not feeling like you can do it, or like you said, no one's going to force you. I tell people all the time that if it wasn't for me doing strength and conditioning and lifting weights and trying to be strong, I would succumb to my injuries. I wouldn't be able to go up the stairs. I wouldn't be able to play with my kids or walk the dogs, or even get out of the house with my mental health issues. The fitness aspect, and once again, fitness meaning, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual health, that totality, that is what's keeping me alive and active and happy. And, you brought up a valid point, and a lot of the guys that I like and that I consider mentors, they say all the time, like, even if you want a job, or you want to present yourself in a certain way, And say you and your 300-pound self go into the same room, people are going to gravitate to the person that looks like they do some sort of exercise, that they carry themselves with some sort of stature, that they walk properly, they keep their head held high, they talk with authority. And when it comes to getting a job or improving your career, most likely they're always going to take the guy that has some sort of well-being about him versus someone that's just sloppy and doesn't give a crap. And so I think, veterans, my point is this, like, health is wealth. Like,
Yeah.
we know from society all the time, you get your 50s, 60s, 70s and shit starts going sideways. And then you're like, oh crap, now I need to do something about it. But if you would have just started when you knew you needed to start, you could probably waylay and put aside a bunch of those issues that you wouldn't have got if you just did some form of activity.
Yeah, 100%. We hear people all the time at Team RWB, they'll come to us and say, I can't do this because I can't walk because my knee hurts or because my back hurts. Whereas like the reality is your knee hurts and your back hurts because
you're not walking, right?
Yes, 100%. And I should probably clarify, Rob, just something. So in your scenario you were talking about, you were taking ownership of your health, and getting help is part of that, right? And that's what we do at Team RWB, right? Like, we're here to help, but at the end of the day, like, you had to do it yourself. Like, you had to do it and you got assistance. That's what we do, right? Like, we assist people, but at the end of the day, like, they have to show up, and I think that's what's important, in all of this, and I do think there's knowledge is important too, right? Like, so full disclosure, I like to drink beer. I've always liked to drink beer, right? I've never done it to excess. Like, I've never had like a drinking problem, but I do, right? And I started wearing a wearable device a few years ago, and I realized that my sleep score was absolute garbage when I would have a few beers, right? And I didn't really realize it, but I think I knew inside that was really the case. But because I was armed with this knowledge in front of me, and again, the competitive side of me was always trying to like get a better sleep score, it very much changed my behavior. That being said, like, I still maybe every other weekend or something, I'll go have a couple beers with one of my friends because like it's still something I like to do, and I don't want to completely cut it out of my life. But I was armed with the knowledge to understand that, like, hey, it's not good for me. And so, and this is where the discipline comes in. It's like, okay, I'm not doing this during the week at all. Period. Zip. Not doing it. Right. And, I think moderation is key in a lot of these things. And this is where I see people they're like 1,000% in on some diet or fad or whatever it is for 2 weeks. And then it's like hard crash, whereas like a little bit of moderation goes a long way to making like these sustainable changes over time.
Yeah, definitely. I always say to my community when I'm coaching anybody, I don't prescribe diets, and they're like, why? And I said, because diet has the word die in it. You're not going to be relatively able to stick with it or complete it. And in reality, especially in America, if we just stop overconsumption and, like you said, everything in moderation, you can enjoy whatever you want in moderation. It's just we go overboard, and then we go beyond overboard, and then before you know it, it becomes an addiction or an issue. Before we close out the show, because we're getting right about that time, what's some of the bigger initiatives, or what does the future hold right now for Team Red, White, and Blue?
Well, I would say I have to shout out something we just did. We just did this thing this last May called the Old Glory Ultra Relay. We put a team of 12 veterans together, and we set a record for the fastest run across the country. So these 12 veterans are incredible. Ran 3,000 miles.
That was with the American flag, right?
With the American flag. Right. It was a relay, so you passed the flag from person to person. They ran 3,000 miles in 16 and a half days. It was incredible to be a part of. So I have to shout that out, even though we probably won't do that again because it was really, really hard. But we did it. We got it done. Ran from San Diego to DC. The GWOT 100 is a big initiative that we have going on right now. And we try to do kind of 4 big kind of things a year, so something quarterly. So the GWOT 100 we won. We always do something around Memorial Day, and you can go to the Team RWB website and look at it. But we're doing a kickoff, which I think is kind of cool. A first day kickoff for the GWOT 100 in Jacksonville. It's going to be at the GWOT headquarters, and we're calling it the Thunder Run. It kind of homage to the Thunder Run that happened in Baghdad at the beginning of Operation Iraqi Freedom. But it's a 24-hour event that you can do by yourself or with teams of 2 or 4. That should be a really, really cool event. So that's something else we have going on. It's kind of smaller, but it's going to happen the beginning. It's like the kickoff to the GWOT 100. It's an in-person event in Jacksonville, which we're super excited about.
I'll have to see. So I'm 4 hours, I think, out of Jacksonville. I used to live in Jacksonville, so
Cool.
I have some friends down there. I might have to see if I can show up for that.
You should come. It'd be awesome. Even if you want to just come hang out. It's going to start at 4 o'clock on the 31st, which is ceremonially February 1st in Baghdad, right? So that's midnight in Baghdad. So it's actually 1600. 24-hour event. It'll be at the GWOT headquarters, and there's a 4.1 mile loop. So people will kind of, people or into teams will run the loop and then come back. And then there's going to be a kind of an after party on Sunday afternoon, starting at 4 o'clock when it's over with. So should be super
Very
cool.
nice. And guys, Cole DeRosa, who ran in that relay, I got to interview him. So that's a good episode. So go check that out.
Cole is an absolute animal.
He's a beast. Yes.
Yeah, he's an absolute animal.
Where, besides the app, where can people go to the website? What's the links, and where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm not on much social media. I've just learned, we were talking about discipline earlier. I have learned that that's not something that adds joy to my life. But, teamrwb.org is the best way. Everything's there. If you're interested in just the GWOT 100, you can go to GWOT100.org. My email is probably the best way, is on the website. So if you want to get in touch with me, and just shoot me an email. I don't spend a lot of time on social media at all. I've just learned it's not very good for me. So
JJ, thank you so much for being here. I love Team Red, White, and Blue. I've been part of it for a while now. And I just want you guys to know, if this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to go to their website. All the links will be in the description. Learn about Team Red, White, and Blue. Learn about the GWOT 100. Sign up if you can. Your health, your physical and mental, that's the foundation for everything in your life. And you don't have to rebuild it alone. That's why Team Red, White, and Blue is there as that community. And if you're a veteran who's been disconnected from fitness, from purpose, from community, this is your sign. This is the episode for you to re-engage. So until next time, guys, stay locked in, always take ownership, and always battle harder. Thank you.
You've just heard another real comeback story on the Battle Harder podcast, where we turn pain into progress and remind you that rock bottom is just the starting line. If today's message hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You might just change their life. Subscribe, leave a review, and join the mission at battleharder.com. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay dangerous, and keep battling harder.